So I'm looking at this movie about, it's called Recovery. It's about a war vet with PTSD, and they're trying to convince her that talking about things is a good thing. And I start thinking, like, why can't I convince other people of that? And then I understand it's the shame rule that I always talk about. Like, there's only two things you should be ashamed of, and that's the stuff that you do to people that hurts them, and the opportunities that you have to help people that you pass on. And but the things or the circumstances of your life are not necessarily things to be ashamed of. I'm not ashamed that I have to be, shirtless. That's something that's, I can wear a shirt like, cut off to here, but I'm saving money now, and I'm not buying anything. But I did talk to the person I wanted to talk to about the thing that I can't talk about, and I'm like, yeah, it's really frustrating, and it's a situation that I can't really talk to them about openly and honestly. And it's a whole big thing, man. And it's like I'm sworn to secrecy over it. And it's like, and at this point, you're saying, then why in the hell are you on here bringing this up? You're talking about something you can't talk about. That's about as charming as a beer milkshake. So, yeah, a beer milkshake. Where'd that pop up? That's from Cannery Row, where this guy said he always wanted to try a beer milkshake. And so he went into some place and he drank a beer milkshake. And it took him a while to convince the guy. I have to go revisit that book. That's really a great book, that John Steinbeck book, Cannery Row. But anyway, that's where that came from, the beer milkshake thing. But no, man, things are not groovy for me. I mean, I went ahead and I took 15 milligrams of volume trying to get to sleep at 5 o'clock in the morning this morning. And I didn't go to sleep until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I did not take any more pills. But I did not go to sleep until the volume wore off. Is this kind of some kind of bizarro world or something? That's not how that's supposed to work. Volume is famous for making people sleep. But yeah, I'm thinking. I sat with my guitar in that chair over there. It's very uncomfortable because it's not wide enough. I made a horrible mistake when I moved in here. I had a chance to get like a love seat recliner, like this oversized recliner, where it would have been perfect for me to sit back and play a guitar in. But this thing, I got to pinch my elbow in, and I got to hold the guitar at a weird angle and stuff. I could still do it, to practice memory, uh, you know, me- uh, calling things up from memory. But it's not going to help my technique, which is my principal problem. But I wrote the guitar player dude, which is the real estate agent dude, and I know he knows a lot more about guitar already because I can just, you can tell talking to somebody, and he was actually serious. That was like of wanting to start a band between the ages of 18 and 22, and he was telling me how it didn't work out and that how he sings too and whatnot, but I haven't heard back from him. And I think I'll call him like early in the week. Um, But in the meantime, I wrote him a thing, and I was going to show him that fret-like guitar thing that I have a video on here because I bought that left-handed fret-like guitar, and of course it's me. So somehow I paid like at least $100 extra to get a left-handed guitar that's a fret-light, but the lights are wired for a right-hander. Now, unless you want to play upside down like Jimi Hendrix, why would you buy a left-handed guitar and then rewire the lights to be right-handed? That can only happen to me. but that's consistent with my entire guitar history. So I thought I'd show him, make a video showing him that, and it would be funny. I say, well, here's what a C major open looks like on my guitar, and he'll recognize instantly that it's upside down. And then I'll explain, that I'm the only guy in the world that can buy a left-handed guitar, pay more money for it, and have it be a right-handed guitar. The body's left-handed, the lights are right-handed, but I don't like to do too many repeats since I do so many videos. Um, so I didn't want to, I didn't want to go into that. I never know if this. I assume the same. It's only like 20 people that watch these things, so I assume they're the same people that have been with me for a long time. Anyway, so uh, I have to start assuming your knowledge of past videos. I mean, I picked up a couple of new people along the way. Cindy, for one. Uh, I don't know how long Betty's been with me. Um, there's other names that I don't want to get their names wrong because I have like a phobia of that. So there's other names in there too besides those two. Um, Jen Lee or Jenny Lee, I don't know which one, but I remember her. And I remember other people, but I can't get their names right. You know, so I don't like to do that. I don't know if Every Man a King is still hanging in there with me. I don't know. But it's kind of funny. It's not funny that my nose is itching again. It's like, oh, we're on camera. Now I have to torture you. And I guess, is this considered rude? I have like a paper towel here. I don't know. I suppose that's considered decent human behavior. I don't consider it a proper thing to do on camera, but my nose is itching like crazy. And I know I bought Visine, but I couldn't find Visine anywhere, but my eyes have been bothering me too. But anyways, see, I can't afford to get distracted because of the benzo thing. My mind is no longer a steel trap. It is a porous mesh strainer trying to bail an ocean of thought. It's not extremely effective. I, I heard something interesting, and this is funny that I've never heard this before. Maybe they made it up for the show. Maybe they didn't. I realize I'm changing subjects. But Buddhists think of human beings as waves on an endless ocean. So you have your time as a human being, and then you go back, you know, you have that form of a wave, and then you go back into the ocean. I had never heard that metaphor for Buddhism before. I'm like, I studied the hell out some Buddhism, some Buddhist nasty, whatever, Buddhism, and I've never come across that before, but it was in the show. That show I was watching that was called The Good Place, which I didn't realize it had a fourth season. So it actually comes to a conclusion, and it used that metaphor in the fourth season. But how the Buddhists see human beings as waves that recede into an eternal ocean. And if you want to call that ocean a god or what have you, it's all good. Uh, yeah, I would like to talk about some things, but I just can't. They're interesting things, they're important things, and it would be useful if I could sit down and talk with the people about them. But when you get sworn to secrecy, you get sworn to secrecy. And when you know people and you know how they are about, um, you know, their personalities are about what they feel they should be shared or not shared. I mean, if anybody in my family actually followed me on here, they wouldn't like it. The things that I have said, and I've held back so much. But anyways, so I was gonna make a. I was working on. I was thinking about working on making a video to send that dude of that weird guitar anomaly, and then working out. I've been working on this guitar thing to play him. I moved my pedal, my two guitars over here, the Fretlight and the Old Faithful and the amp. I just moved everything in the bedroom because just if I'm going to play, through an amplifier, which you have to do to record. Um, I guess I'm still not going to be spending money. I broke down and I really splurged though, and I spent uh, $16 on 10 hospital socks. Are these you can get it? Hospital socks can be like very expensive. The no slip ones that are supposed to help me keep from ripping off my finger like I almost did that one day and shit, and like falling down and busting my legs open and whatnot. When I'm walking around the house, slippers are too hot, and yeah, my slippers that I bought specifically because they were mesh and would be good for the summertime are of course bagged up due to the bed bug crisis, like most of my possessions. Um, but anyways, I was like, oh, that's a good deal on these socks, except for they're extra extra large, and my feet are just large. I think 12, size 12 tennis shoes and size 13 dress shoes is just considered large. I don't think they're extra large. And they get baggy after you wear them for a while, and they get dangerous, and they just up and fall off your feet. They just jump off your feet, which I don't blame anything for wanting to jump off my feet and get the hell away from my feet. I don't like them either. But they can be dangerous because they'll start to fall off, and then you got the like that much of your sock hanging off the toe, like trying to walk around and stuff. And if you got to pay attention. Um, but yeah, my knee has been bad. My sleeping schedule's been bad. My digestion's been bad. It's like when I talked to the person, she anonymity. They called me, and when they called me, now I hit myself in the head. That's why the Joker in the Batman movie, The Dark Knight, says you never go for the head. How are you supposed to interrogate somebody? If you hit them in their head, they need to be thinking clearly. And then Batman punches him in the hand. He's like, now you're getting it. But, anyways, uh, yeah. So things are bad right now, but my plan is to drink this coffee, be up all night, not do anything stupid with Valium, and take a whole day's dose at one time, thinking it's going to make me sleepy because I don't know how much Valium I would have to take to go to sleep. But apparently it's a lot. I don't know and I don't want to find out. You know, shouldn't shouldn't be doing that stuff anyway. For a while I was taking um, my dose right now is 15 milligrams a day. I would take 5 milligrams and I would take 10 milligrams before I went to sleep, like at once later in the day. And it was working, and then it stopped working. And my sleep got disrupted because, I don't know, I just wasn't happy at waking up at 8:30 in the morning because I wanted to wake up early. I wanted to wake up before sunrise, 4 or 5 in the morning, and then take a walk in the mornings. Because if I walk at night on a very painful leg, and get out in the cool air and the rain and whatever else is going on out there, it wakes you up. I mean, it's doesn't relax me. It doesn't. Yeah, it does the opposite. It wakes me up. It's like when I talk to my brother too late at night. Who My brother was cracking me up. The stuff that he was talking about. I'm like, man, you should. We could be comedy writers. I could come up with the initial idea, and you could flesh it out because we wrote like a sketch because we're talking about Steve Ray Vaughan looking like a pimp, and I said, well, he could be in like one of those Terminator movies, except for his Terminator ability would be guitar, and he would show up naked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he would go up to a pimp and say, I need your hat, your cane, and your feather boa. And then he built on that, and he made this whole damn scenario out of that. So we could have been like the Coen brothers if we weren't so fucked in the head from having a murderous father. I don't know about the Coen's father. I don't know if the Coen's father ever jumped a sergeant. And kicked him down the steps and then nearly kicked him to death, or cut anybody's guts out or anything like that. I mean, I don't know, but under other circumstances, um, we could have been like a writing team, because I can come up with a whacked out idea, but he's really good at fleshing it out and taking it to weird places. But yeah, we had a whole Terminator Stevie Ray Vaughan sketch, because it was like, man, Steve Ray Vaughan always be dressing like a pimp in all those videos, man. And I was like, that's because he's a Terminator from the future, sent to kill people with his guitar. And then, like I said, that's the best I could come up with off the spur of the moment was, I need your hat, your cane, and your feather boa. Because he's actually in concert wearing a hat with a hat band that has like a big foxtail off the end of the hat. If you've ever seen him, he usually doesn't dress down. So, well, that was funny. But he's in a good mood, my brother's. He's going fishing at Lake Erie tomorrow. But when I talk to him, it's like taking a walk outside at night. It wakes me up. It wakes my mind up, just like all that pain and shit from walking and being in a different environment wakes me up. So I wanted to go walking in the mornings. I should have just nutted up and walked during the day and just ignored everybody and ignored the coronavirus and ignored all of it. Um, I don't know if I mentioned that in the last video where I was fucking around with the mirror, where I said I paid uh, for the back rent for April and then May and June. And but I did ask the dude if the crazy guy with PTSD, the Afghani war vet, still lived here, and he said, as far as I know, which means he's paying rent here, but I don't know if he lives here or not. Because I don't hear him or see him almost. I almost never hear him or see him. But we'll find out, because he's got this habit of, when the weather is nice, of sitting out on the porch. So we're gonna find out pretty soon. I mean, I got the window open right now, a crack, and it's around 11 o'clock at night. So this video won't even be my video for if I'm doing a daily vlog. The second, this will be the third by the time I got it up anyway. But I thought, why not talk? This movie's interesting and all, and it's also short, which I love. That's like such an underrated quality. If you can get a runtime of 90 minutes or under on a movie nowadays, that's awesome. These epic Marvel type 2 to 2.5 hour movies, even The Dark Knight, which I referenced earlier, which is supposed to be a masterpiece. That's one of them ones where I'm checking the time on it. I mean, it's a good movie. The Heath Ledger Joker and all that is a good movie. I'm not a comic book guy, but I mean, if you start thinking about the time, you're not really engrossed in the film. Like I was pretty engrossed in this film because it was about a war vet whose only option besides going to jail for violence was to go to this mental facility. And in this mental facility, they had a flashback and beat the fuck out of one person and elbowed another person in the nose who was trying to break up the fight. So the head of the hospital wants to send her to jail, and the other person wants to keep her there because her brother was a war vet who committed suicide. So, and it's already half over, and I'm like, when I stopped the movie and decided to like just talk to y'all instead, because it seemed like a more productive uh, use of my time, and plus that girl would talk, and the person said, expressing yourself is. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's reminds me, yeah, that's kind of my thing. So, um, that movie was half over, and I didn't even realize it. It's like when I stopped it, it was half over, and it seemed like it was only on for like 15 minutes, and it's like I totally lost track of time in that movie because I'm more of a drama guy. Like I like violence in movies. Love violence in movies. I love westerns. But I'm more of a drama guy. I don't want a bunch of shit happening. That's like a sign of a bad movie to me. If they feel like they have to throw a bunch of action at you, like right off the bat, it's like, okay, you're covering up for the fact that you don't want to do that whole character development thing where we form some kind of attachment to the characters. You know, this is going to be a bunch of sound and fury signifying nothing. And I check out, I'll check out of a movie like that. Sometimes that's excusable or they can work their way around that. That's not necessarily a deal breaker. It's just one of my many warning signs that I might be watching a bad movie. And I should get out while the getting's good, before I get up to my nips in the quicksand of this movie. Because once you're in a movie so far, it's like, and it's too late and you realize you're watching a crap movie, you might as well finish it because it's only got 20 minutes left in it. It's like, it's like when I used to read books. It's like I had a OCD thing about not finishing a book. Then I finally found a book that was so bad that I didn't feel obligated to finish it. It was so liberating. And this is just something that a childish act that I committed. I hated the book so much. This is fucked up. I admit. I don't know how young I was when I did this, but I slapped my dick on the book and I took a magic marker and I traced my dick around in the book and then closed it back up and gave it back to the library. Not cool. Yeah, that wasn't a cool thing to do, but I was just, this book is a piece of crap. This is how I feel about this book. They didn't have the internet back then, so I couldn't, like tell people how bad this book was. It's like they just threw in it wasn't like they were just throwing in random stuff to keep you interested. They were throwing in heinous, pointless violence and sex, and it's just there's no plot here. There's just a bunch of garbage. I felt like sullied by it, so I felt like I had to get dirty back at the book. But yeah, I don't know if anybody knew what that was, but that's what I did. I wasn't quite right at that age. I'm not quite right at this age, but at that age, I was definitely not quite right. Um, why anybody would even think of doing such a thing, I don't know. But I never did that to any other book. But it's like I always had a reverence for book, but that book broke me because I'd read a book and I'd realize that this book's not very good, but I would still finish it because by God, somebody put a lot of work into making this, and it's not very good. But like for instance, I don't think The Godfather is very well written, but somebody put a lot of work and a lot of research in it. I mean, the style of the prose and stuff, and there's no interesting metaphors in there. There's no fancy turns of phrases. It starts out, The Godfather, the book starts out like this woman specifically seeks out Sonny Corleone to bang at a wedding reception because she knows that he has a giant dick, and she's was told by a boyfriend that she was big down there. I was like, this wasn't in the movie. So yeah, if you read The Godfather, or if you need to check that out, that's in The Godfather. And there's worse stuff in there in The Godfather. If you feel like in a particularly salacious mood, there's a reverse episiotomy scene in there that's I'm not even going to talk about because that embarrasses me. It's so crass. It embarrasses me, and that takes a lot because I haven't blushed for years, but I just don't. I'm trying to be respectful of my audience. That's all. Even though I just told a story about slapping my dick down on a library book and tracing it and then giving it back to the library to show my disdain for the author. And I should have just wrote in the margin, like, do not read further than this, and defaced it that way. I don't know if I ever wrote in a library, wrote words in a library book, though. Because you could deny that's, unless they wanted to really go through like a prosecutorial motion and like sl- make you take your dick out and slap it and see if the Cinderella slipper fits. that's kind of an untraceable crime. But if you're the last guy that took out a book and there's a bunch of writing in there, and then somebody gets that book and says that, somebody wrote some shit in this book, that's the way my mind worked, was like, well, the library could call me up and be like, yeah, you wrote a bunch of shit in this book. Now you got to pay for it. Because I've had to pay for library books before. I still have one that I had to pay for. And it was because I loaned it to a guy who never gave it back until the library said it was too late to give it back. And I finally got it off him. But anyways, uh, yeah, there's things that I can do. My leg is really heinous and, just totally hates me right now. But I'm thinking I could empty some of the dressers around here, and I put a bunch of the boxes from Global Meals in here, and I could like start packing stuff up and stick to that plan. I got more information. I don't know if it's automated at this point, or it's the Brent guy doing it, or like they have automated like apartment finder services via the internet or what. But I got like more apartments now in North Canton um, to look at. It's like, man, I got all these apartments to look at, and it's like, I suppose it could be pretty quick. It could be like, okay, this is an apartment building, multi-story, just weed out all the ones that are multi-story, and then go right to the ones that are single-story, and those are the ones I want. So it might not be. It was just this week was a bad week. I mean, I didn't get it. I just wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't exercising good. I was eating okay, and my appetite was okay, but my body didn't know what to do with the food, and I didn't do a lot of productive things. I did get back on the horse as far as playing guitar. Um, see, my script come in yesterday, which was the first, and I don't know how long they'll hang on to that, so I'll probably have to call the drugstore tomorrow and ask them like how long before my volume script gets sent back. I also have a gabapentin script there. I don't know how long they hold it for, but my aid worker doesn't come until Tuesday. My other option is to, since I'm all alone in the world, is to hop on that scooter, either go through the scooter in the drive-through and pick up my prescription, which I don't know if that's doable, but it might be doable. But according to my aid worker, there's like a gigantic line of cars, and I just cannot picture like a gigantic line of cars and then a crippled guy in a mobility scooter. I would probably have to park the scooter and go in there and, go into the outside into the COVID world and touch surfaces and interact with people. And I don't know how social distancing will work if I have to punch in my code on something. I gotta wear rubber gloves, I guess, and stay away from people. It would make me feel good to do something for myself for a change. And you get trapped inside, you get squirrely just going outside for a walk when you encounter no human beings. So pretty squirrely. Um, but I definitely have to look into that because I don't want to go through that rigmarole, and I don't have many of these yellow. I had some left over from my script. I'm looking at 2, 5, 8, 9 pills, but I got like a gigantic stash of uh, you know pills that are twice that potency, um, that I can just cut in half. So it's not like an urgent thing. It's just I, it would raise red flags because it's like, okay, you're on you're dependent on benzodiazepines. Why aren't you picking up your script? Why is your script getting sent back? They would know. I mean, they would know. it's like I've talked to the guy about how I admitted myself into a psychiatric unit just so I wouldn't have to go through any cold turkey. They would know, so I have to stay on top of this and make sure I cover my ass because I can always say like, well, I was late picking up my script because I had a few extra pills, but I can't not pick up the script and then call my doctor and he's like, well, what's up? It's so like, what happened? I have to come up with some lie, um, a lie that doesn't say that I have like 171 extra pills that I've just saved up just because I don't trust your profession. So I need to do that tomorrow. And I don't know. It's just very disorienting when you don't get sleep. And it's very confusing. And I wish I could talk about that other thing that I want. I really, really want to talk about that because it's a very serious thing and very frightening thing. And it would make me feel better if I could talk about it. But I got sworn to secrecy and I can't talk about it. So but it was troubling me. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying it was contributing to my sleeplessness, but it was troubling me. I was putting in phone calls that weren't getting answered, and it's yeah, not good. But when I say it's not good, with my history, it's not good. Um, Hopefully, it'll work out. I mean, I don't know. Um, it will be interesting on the 5th coming up to see if I think I called like 2 days ago. They were saying that, I mean, why would they bump up my food stamps from $16 to $178 for 2 months? Doesn't make any sense. The COVID relief check thing is supposed to cover that. It didn't say anything on the form like that told me that I was getting increased benefits um, because of COVID, and it went back to March 1st, and I think that was before we had our first COVID case in Ohio. Now that doesn't mean they wouldn't like throw a bunch of money on my card, because uh, we had like 13 cases in on the 13th or something like that. I mean, we're like way in from the coast, and they come from New York and Florida and the coastal regions. We're in the heartland here, so it took a while for that shit to get here. It's came, of course, in our biggest city, Cleveland. Uh, so I don't know. And I talked to this person on the phone, and they were like, they had to go to a town called Wadsworth to go to a specific store, and I'm like, well, I thought the stores were like opening up, and she's like, they're opening up sporadically, and the idea is like to open up the stores and the businesses like slowly. I have to read up on it. The article or the governor's announcement came last Monday, but I just been too busy, being miserable and having a bad leg, not exercising, and not sleeping to really give a damn. Um, yeah, I don't really have any bad feelings about coughing up the money that my scumbag landlord. I feel like that was the appropriate decision because it gives me 2 months to sort my shit out here. And then, like I said, when June rolls around, I will be able to pocket my entire Social Security check, and the rent's paid for June already. And like I said, I'm $300 ahead. It's like you got the rent paid for 3 months, and you're $300 ahead just because it began raining cash, baby. No, I just got like $1,556 that I wasn't expecting to get. So yeah, um, So yeah, there's things I can do. I probably shouldn't. I probably should like. Uh, that's what I'll do is like I will. I say things on here to help myself though, but I will like box up like umbrellas and stretchy bands for exercise and just various stuff that I could use in the future. Little mementos that I have. Like I have it's old masking tape around like a bunch of empty pen cartridges from my writing days. Because every time I would write and empty a pen, I would pull out like on a big pen, I would pull out the pen part, throw the plastic part away, and save the empty thing. And then I just kept saving them because I felt like I don't know. Sometimes it's like taking a photograph when you're having a memorable vacation or something. I felt like what I was doing was, I knew what I was doing at the time was very important to my life, and I wanted a memento, and that was like cool memento. And then I believe at the time I still had dreams of avarice and fantasies about being a famous writer. So I would be like, these have value. These are the pens that I wrote the holy grail of novels with. Had a little high opinion of myself at the time. But no, it's like, so I have things like that are like mementos in that one drawer there, and I could sort out the garbage from stuff and start boxing stuff up like I had planned to do earlier when I said like every day I would start work. I would do something towards the act of getting out of here because I really do need to get out of here. I realize that the rent here is insanely cheap, but now that I know that the pocket maniac is still paying rent here, definitely got to get out of here before summer comes, and I definitely got to get busy. That's the thing about sliding into insanity. It really is a slide. It isn't like one day snapping. It's like you just start. You're like as I wrote in my book where I was saving the pens. It's like being an unmoored canoe, and you're just slowly drifting away from the bank. You know, this one shaman guy wanted to explain to this woman why her husband was going on this water fast to try to have a vision quest, and he was like, it's like he's become an unmoored canoe, and he's slowly drifting uh, away. It was his way of explaining it to her, and that is a credit to my reduction in vanity that I do not remember the rest of that. So good for me. Um, yeah, I, I I did have moments of self doubt. Like there was a scene in The Simpsons where the Mo guy was holding a book, and he's like, "What about my novel?" And the name of his novel was My Troubled Mind. And then I was like, maybe that's what I wrote. Maybe what I wrote isn't good. It was just like me sweeping a bunch of garbage out of my mind. Um, and then I think I read On Writing by Stephen King, and he said that writing from a place of desperation is never good. And there's never been a time in my life where desperation was not in play. So I don't know. I think it's pretty good. You know, I want to do something more than just like ramble on here. Like I want to read uh, this one short story, which is very short. I wanted to read, and I want to like write on guitar, but my body gets in the way, and the benzos gets in the way, and the physical torment, and all that shit gets in the way. You know, it's hard to when you're aggravated already. It's hard to do delicate artsy fartsy type stuff. So it's easier to plug in a guitar and make a bunch of heinous noise than to like try to work something out like and and work on your technique. That takes a lot of patience. That's developing technique is like on guitar. It takes years of practice. Um, the kind of technique that I need to express the things that I want to express because I'm not a chord guy. I'm a melody guy. So um, I have to like I'll hear like a melody and I'll hear it change, and then I have to like find that on the fretboard, and that takes time and it takes dedication, and you have to keep playing it and working it. It's a whole thing. Very it takes patience that I don't have since my health deteriorated. And reading, I don't like the way I sound, and it's all that edginess. But I would like to do something at least. This is something for people. I would like to do something. If I'm just sitting there watching a movie, I don't like that kind of passivity. I like movies, I like TV, but I would much rather be doing something and sharing it with people. That's why I could never understand why I had them two guitar playing guys and we never played guitar together for like 30 years. And my last gasp of trying to play guitars with them was I bought a bass and I was planning on playing bass guitar for them. At least the one guy, and then I bought that fretlight guitar, and I actually took, since it was wired right-handed, and I took it over there and I said, you guys are right-handed. I took it over to my foster brother's house. I said, this thing's already wired for right-handed. I got this old computer, the program's really easy to use if you want to like learn with it or whatever, and it of course sat over there for months, and I just took it back and nobody messed with it. And like that one guy that's really like, uh, I would kill someone for the technique that he has. He can three finger claw pick, which he's hold a pick in your hand like this and still pick with your fingers. And he's got all this delicate touch, and he can do like pinch harmonics and glissando and all this stuff that I can't even dream about doing. Um, I gave him like a printer because the printer was uh, less expensive than the ink. I'm like, do I want to pay? I told this story before. Do I want to pay $36 for ink, or do I want to pay $31 for a brand new printer that's the same printer with ink already in it? I think that's a pretty easy decision. So I just uh, gave him my old printer and still had ink in it, and that way he could print out sheet music because he likes to play stuff off the tablature. And then you can print out pages and tape them together and hang them from a pole, or if you have like even a musician stand type of thing, you can set it on there, and he's pretty quick at that stuff. He didn't pick up that printer for like 8 months, and then like I gave it to him for Christmas, and then like I left it at my foster brother's house, and just in a box. It was like in a box like a present, and he just you know never opened it or whatever. And then like 8 months later, he was asking me where the disc was, and I'm like, the disc isn't with it. I was like, he's like, no, no, that's not what he was asking me. He was asking me about like you can hook it up wireless or you can hook it up with a USB cable. And he said, they still sell USB cables? I'm like, yeah, sure. I got like 10 of them in the house because you can hook it up directly to a USB cable. But the point to that, all of that is these are not motivated people. Okay, if somebody gives you a Christmas present and you don't open it for 8 months, you're not motivated. Um, yeah. So, but it, this other guy, you know, people say stuff, and especially if they're like in a counselor role and they want to be encouraging or whatever, the but all I need is like somebody that knows something about guitar to send guitar videos to, and it will give me a reason to play guitar. I have to have a reason. You know how they say that sex thing, like women need a reason, all guys need is a place. Like I don't get any pleasure out of sitting there practicing guitar and making stuff up for myself. Like the stuff that I wrote, I always played it for other people or put it on a disc I made a movie of myself and put it on a disc and um, or a recording and gave it to my foster brother who played it for a friend of his. He's like, "He made this." Mm. And he told me that I don't know if he was just trying to stroke my ego or whatever. I don't know if he needed money at the time or not. But he was like, yeah, he was real impressed by that. He was talking about this guy named Keith that he's known for years. But yeah, that would be cool for me. I don't need a whole lot of feedback or anything like that either. You know, it's like I don't even need the guy. I'm sure is a far superior musician to me, and so us playing together would be like a tortoise and a hare type situation. You know, I don't even know if it would work, but it would give me an excuse to play, which I have to have an excuse, or my guitar will sit and I won't play for this years. You know, which be, partly because of my technical issues and playing with my thumb. I made a joke. I was like, "Yeah, try double picking with your thumb. It doesn't work too good. I can get a surprising amount of speed with my thumb, but double picking, no, it doesn't work that good." But yeah, I kind of glossed over that thing that I said about the sex thing, where there's that old sex joke where uh, women need a reason, men just need a place. Like uh, uh, that's what women are selective, like as far as looking for mates, unless they're looking specifically for to bang one out, to use an expression from that Good Place show I was watching. Unless they're looking specifically for that kind of thing, or they're into that sort of thing. I'm just talking, of course, on average. On average, a woman would need a reason to sleep with you, like, oh, you're an interesting guy. I enjoy your company. Um, we could enjoy time together, or we could raise a family together if you happen to be young or whatever. But a guy, he's got that uh, yeah, unthinking type libido due to testosterone that will be like, oh, okay, where do you want to go? You know, consequences be damned. Like somebody, I heard a comedian say this: it's like a penis is like a third base coach that waves everybody around. It doesn't care about consequences or getting or anything. It's like, go man, just go. It's always saying yes. It's just like yeah, and that is what we have to deal with. It's like um, women kind of have to play like a goalie in soccer. They have to like block. They have to find ways, and I've experienced those ways, and they can be pretty crushing. Of saying no, sometimes it's like, like literally, like that was my uh, one person I know. Her move was just to laugh. Are you like serious right now? You think you have a chance with me? She was brutal. But they're like, because they always got like, I think, I forget, like, not some comedian or another, Chris Rock, or I think it's Chris Rock that was like, guys are like, man, you want some dick, all the time. And so they're like, always, I don't know, that analogy is a little bit too close to home about, goalkeeper. Yeah. See, like I said, I'm always doing that like tightrope walk between brilliance, crudity, and inanity. It's a tough gig being me, man. My brother, man. Whoo. I don't care if they made channels for YouTube that were like for 18 or over, man. He would find some way to get thrown off of YouTube, and it wouldn't be for like racial stuff. He's not a racist. Um, yeah, I'm not. I almost said something. Definitely. Yeah, can't say about him, but he's not a racist. I was going to say something about. Um, let me say this delicately, since we've gone this far. He prefers um, Rim style women there. See, it's even like coded and stuff. You know, it's yellow fever. Okay, he likes Asians. All right, there. I said it. It's not an uncommon thing. So yeah, but I don't know. I'm an arrested adolescent, but sex is still. Penises are among the funniest things ever invented. They're ridiculous, and sex is still the most interesting topic. Even if you don't get to have it, it's still fucking interesting. I realize I'm like an arrested adolescent. That doesn't mean I haven't explored philosophy and come up with my own ideas and actually keep track of things like the Buddhist thing I was talking about, waves on the ocean. That we're all waves on an ocean, on an eternal ocean, and stuff like that. But sex is still like the most interesting thing. I mean, you got survival, and then you got your sex drive. Your sex drive uh, will shut down in survival situations. But that's one and two. The first thing you do as a living being is survive. And you're only surviving so you can have sex and reproduce. That is biological fact of the animal kingdom, of which we are a part and yet not a part. Because we have our minds, we have abstraction, you know. We have the ability to use symbol, which animals do not have. We have the ability to say, this is not the thing itself, but represents the thing. Now, Coco the gorilla, she figured out, like, she had a vocabulary, and animals, like, they can take cues from you and they can understand words. Like the dog that recently died, that was my brother's dog. He probably had, like, at least 1,000 word vocabulary. Um, but as far as, like, metaphor and stuff like that, I'm not sure Coco the gorilla could get the whole soccer goalie metaphor. If you explain to her that you're kind of like, you're just playing goalie, honey, with them other male gorillas. You know, you're just like, nope, nope, nope. You're just like not letting anything through unless you want to. Um, she's not going to get that. So, but yeah, I was actually working on this project very diligently. Um, I don't know how to describe it, other than that, other than it's an accumulation of my life's work. Uh, when the bedbug crisis hit, and then I had to bag it all up. But I was working on it because I was like, I have to boil this down into like the simplest fucking terms, which that is the definition of genius. Anybody can sound smart. Anybody can go on a Jordan Peterson style rant where you don't know what the hell the guy's talking about. But to take something complicated and abstract and to break it down, man, into something that's graspable for just anybody, is that takes real work and a certain amount of genius to do that. I was trying to do that. I had a project worked out, and I was even like in the process of building like a board that I could put behind me where I could set the camera up so that I could read off of this board. And I had like these pages, and I was into this project, and then bed bugs kind of changed all that. So uh, at that time, um, I was still in the throes of the benzo thing, and that I still had not switched to volume yet, but I was very like focused on doing that because it seemed important to me. I have all these projects and things that I want to do, and I don't have the health to do them, and it's very frustrating. And now I'm not sleeping, which is not good for me, and it's giving me a lot of headaches. Um, but as far as like a reason to keep living, it's like I have things that I want to do. That's that Good Place show. I don't know if you watched the whole series or not, but it had an interesting ending. The way it ended, it's like it kind of mixed like atheist philosophy about things not having value unless there is an end to them, with the idea of heaven and the afterlife in an interesting way. It was like it's your choice. If you feel satisfied, if you feel like you've had enough, you're in heaven. But if you feel like you've had enough and you're just like, I feel complete, I feel at peace, and I've had enough, then you could like go into a form of non-existence, but nobody knew what it was. I don't want to spoiler the series in case nobody saw it because it's a very enjoyable series. Um, I think I probably already did though, so I'll put spoilers or something in the title, but I won't tell you the ending in case you're like, oh, I don't care about this stupid show he's talking about, which is, all the sad statement that, like I said, I'm watching whole series and just laying around just because I'm comfortable. And I'm like, I get frustrated when I'm in a chair fighting, trying to get comfortable with the guitar. And, you know, um, it's a difficult thing. Like I said, they say you're not supposed to write out of desperation, except for I've remembered being desperate my whole life. And I remember being in school and hating it so much, man. I was talking to my brother about it, and it's like I hated school and being thrown into social situations so much when I was young that, as far as the summer, I could only enjoy summer up to the 4th of July. Then from the 4th of July all the way till September, all I was thinking about is I have to go back to school. So June was gravy, because June you didn't have to think about it for 2 months. But once it hit the 4th of July, I was already thinking, oh my God, I gotta go back to school. Get thrown in these situations, and then like it got worse because of all my sexual hang-ups that was put in me, and to have all these girls bothering me, and uh, have all these other guys that were like mad at me because it's like what's wrong with you? And then I couldn't help it. It sounds like bragging, but it's not bragging. I didn't do anything with it. I don't have any sexual experience whatsoever. Never kissed a girl, and now I got no teeth. So it's like I was fucked up in the head when I was young. So I was already fucked up about school, but then once you got to that age where sexual maturity began to creep in, yeah, it was really hopeless then. You know, it was really hopeless when you get to that spinning the bottle age and stuff like that. I couldn't figure out the pre-spinning the bottle age. Uh, like I was just so alienated from my own humanity, and part of that was because I was there when my older brother committed suicide when he was 9 years old, but I was already alienated before then. I was so alienated that I knew what he was going to do was something bad with that gun that I saw him carrying out in the backyard, and I ran and I hid under a bed. That's how small I was. I could hide underneath the bed. I didn't get my growth spurt. I was not big until I hit puberty, and then I got a growth spurt. And that's why they said I had growing pains when it was actually a tumor, is because I was not a very big kid. until like I hit puberty, and then I got big. So yeah, um, yeah, that's all. Like, you know, eh, it is. You are who you are, man. It's like shame doesn't do nobody no good. You know, it's like you can make fun of me if you want to about my life, but you didn't have my life, so it's like I'm not ashamed of any of that stuff. And you can say, well, you have circumstances, and it's like, oh, I got circumstances upon circumstances, and you can always make excuses for that, but you know, I didn't try. I didn't want no part of any of it. You know, I didn't want no part of life, man. Uh, it's like from a very early age, it was very clear like this wasn't for me. You know, I am not like these other people that I see sitting around in school that are all comfortable, and this guy seems to be wearing the same shirt that he wore yesterday, and he don't smell all that good, and he's having a good time laughing and joking with a bunch of people. And this guy over here, his face looks like a mountain of acne, and he's got his circle of friends, and he's making them laugh and stuff, and I'm just sitting over here. I'm the weird guy. I remember this guy named Joey Popa that he was an artist. He could make like caricatures of people where you exaggerate their looks, and the only thing that he could exaggerate on me, I remember he made caricatures of everybody, and his caricature of me was a lot of hair, because I had a lot of hair, and this look, like a sad look on my face, like, because I was miserable all the time. So I just looked like there was nothing to work with. I didn't have a nose that he could exaggerate, or like any weird features or anything like that. Now, like, I'm asymmetrical and I'm a mess and all that, but yeah, I didn't try, and it would have been really easy because the goalkeepers were attacking the scorer. when you, when you're in school and girls come up to you and say, "I haven't had a dream about you last night," and they got their girlfriends there for like backup, you know. And then, like, even when I was walking with a cane, I had this girl like flirting with me, and his other girlfriends were like, "Leave him alone." And she was like, "I don't care. He's cute." I'm like all fucked up walking with the cane after my first spinal surgery in high school. Uh, yeah. So yeah, it's been a party. It's been a fun life. But at some point, like, I learned to laugh at all of it, and I learned those two rules about shame. And I learned that, like, talking about things and recognizing things for what they are is, the only way to get rid of it is through expression and honesty. So, you know, this is really messed up. But, I come from, like, the suburbs, right? This other person come from the hood. Now, there was this girl whose name I will not say, but she looked like a cross between a Hawaiian and Asian, and was blonde somehow. And she was hotter than hell. And she came over to see. I gotta be careful what I say here. She came over to visit somebody else. I was the only one home. She comes. She's not expecting anybody there but her friend, and she comes walking by me in shorts and a cut off shirt. And every guy has their thing, but this is kind of a thing. Is that, like, if a girl is wearing a cut off shirt and like the shirt is like hanging away from their body, uh, and I'm not like a breast guy or anything like that. I'm a quality over quantity type of dude. But I was like, it's just me and her there, and she's super uncomfortable. She come from a bad situation. I don't know what her past was or anything like that. But I realized how uncomfortable she was, because she was like a little thing, like 5'2". 6'1", big dude, older than her. And so I excused myself from the room, and I'm like, I'm gonna go down in the basement and you know play on my brother-in-law's computer, just because I tried to have a conversation with her, but she like super uncomfortable, and it's like she was afraid. I was like, oh, that's yeah, I don't want. So I just left her alone, and I said, yeah, you can wait on so and so to come back, and I would just go in the basement and play games, and she was relieved and stuff. And it's not like I was leering at her or anything like that. She just walked by me, and I was like, dazed and confused. But anyways, later on, a certain person told me that I could have hooked you up with that. That could have happened. Now, there's another story concerning that particular. I mean, completely exotic. I mean, unbelievable looking. But anyways, she was staying over there, and my poor brother-in-law, um, he comes out of the bedroom. He doesn't know she's there. She is like sleeping in the bathtub, naked. He walks in on her in the bathroom, uh, naked, because he slept naked. So they're both naked. He's not expecting to see her there. He's seeing the whole glorious show, and she's like, sleeping in some warm water. And he just, and I'm sure he sat there and got an eyeful and stuff, and she felt him looking and like opened her eyes and said, "Oh, I'm sorry," or whatever. And he was. And then she realized he was naked, so he said, "I just did this," and did like a quick 180 and got the hell out of there. And full confession, like I was very young when he told me the story, and I got like semi aroused just hearing the fucking story while I was helping him paint. This is so many years ago. This is like 20 years when I was in my 20s. My dick would get hard, as they say, over a light breeze, let alone hearing something like that. And I was like, and then I started thinking about, you know, her naked and whatever. And I was like, oh man, this ain't good. I was like, this is not going to help me paint this wall more effectively if I have a boner. So, think about something else. Anyways, that's a lot of sex talk. I'm not particularly horny or anything like that. I just have a lot of coffee in me. Um, and like I said, sex is one of the more interesting things about the world, and penises are hilarious. It's not hilarious when you're a kid, and I think Eddie Murphy has a thing from way back when he used to be funny, where he was like, "You ever be in school and your dick get hard for no reason?" And it's like that happens to every teenage boy ever. Now, what happened to me, which I won't repeat that story because it's kind of gross, and you've been on here long enough, you probably know the cheerleader with the skirt hiked up in the back of me in the back of the room story already. But that happens, not a huge problem unless you're called up to the board to work a math problem. Then it can be not good. But if you just leaving class or whatever, you can just put your books over it, and then after you uh, figure it out, then you just, if you're allowed, it depends. Like if you, I went to a Catholic school that had a pretty strict dress code, but I think I didn't care if they allowed it or not. Like I wore the long shirt, that you're supposed to keep tucked in, but you just have it hanging over the front of your pants for that, specifically in case that would occur. Because yeah, it's just a fact of being a teenage boy. So that thing with the drywall was not surprising because I wasn't too far removed from being a teenager, and I had seen that girl before, and she's still probably eh, she's in the top 10, that's for sure. I like that woman that looked like an Eskimo with the legs, um, that I live next to in this apartment complex, and had an abusive boyfriend, and I think she was a waitress at a strip bar or something like that. But yeah, she kind of looked like she had that whole exotic thing going on too. It's like that's kind of it's but she had dark hair, which made it worse because I like dark hair. So, um, but the funny thing is like I'm old, decrepit, and dying, but um, you know, the person inside you don't change. What you like doesn't change, and mm, yeah, every this is something that Louis C.K. talked about this, but this is something that most people wouldn't talk about. Is like penises are prejudiced. They just are. They have things that they like and things that they don't like, and a lot of times it's based on skin color and hair color, and like my brother's boy, if he ever found this, he would fucking die. But my brother is prejudiced in favor of Asians, so but I don't think that's anything to be ashamed about. But I don't think it's anything to be ashamed about because that's just the way penises are. Penises are racist. They just are. They're jerks. You know, uh, they're crass. They're crass, uncontrollable creatures, man. What can I tell you? That's a lot of penis talk, man. That's enough. Right? But yeah, if I can't talk about something with substance, I've got to talk about something ridiculous. I'd much rather talk about the thing that I'm not allowed to talk about. And I still ended up stepping over the line with because my brother would not be happy. So please don't tell him that uh, I said anything like that. But I don't know why anybody would be embarrassed over that. I like dark hair, man, black hair, man. Black hair and pale skin just destroys me. It's just that it's got nothing to do. I don't know. I don't think you have any choice in the matter. It's like when you grow up. If you grow up in my household, you're going to be paranoid and anxious. It's not your fault. I think it's like that with dudes. If you grow up and you don't really have any control over what you're attracted to, and I guess that's the argument of homosexuality being a naturally occurring phenomenon, which I saw two mallard ducks who are males humping the hell out of each other. So it's not just a human thing. Because I was fishing and I was scratching my damn head because I was like, wait a minute, what is that mallard doing to that other mallard? And it's like, I know what a female mallard looks like, and I know what a male mallard looks like with the green head. And them are two male mallards, and they were like drifting down the stream, fucking the hell out of each other. And I'm fishing, and I'm like, whoa. See, I tell you, if you spend enough time outdoors and you hold still, you're liable to see anything. That's another thing about animals that you discover if you're an outdoorsman. It's like when they're fucking, they are a lot less skittish, and they're kind of wrapped up in what they're doing, just like people. So, like, if two frogs are going at it, you can go over and you can catch yourself two frogs, real easy. You just reach over and pick them up. You know, um, they mate in the water, but I mean, I'm thinking more of toads. It's like a toad will hop away from you when it sees you coming, but if two are engaged in the act, they just kind of like hang around there. And when you're a kid, and you don't got no decency about you, you pick them up. I remember interrupting two cats that were going at it. That was a bad plan because the male cat attacked me. I don't blame him. Nobody likes a cock block, so I don't blame him. But they were just like, I think I felt protective of the female cat because I think it was one of our cats, and didn't get it spayed yet or something. I'm like, I don't want no more kittens. And oh, I got that story wrong. It was my cat that was pissed off. It was the female cat that was pissed off. The male cat was scared because I was a stranger to it, and it took off running. The female cat is the one that was. I was like, man, it hissed at me and started walking toward me and shit. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I was gonna like pet it, I was just a dumb kid. I was gonna like pet it, and it was like, man, you're interfering with my biological right to reproduce. I will fuck you up. And it was the female cat. Yeah, well, that cat loved me too. What the hell was that cat's name? Tasha, or something like that. I think my brother named it Natasha, and we just call it Tasha. I think. I don't know, but let's see how long I've been pouring the hell out of you, talking about salacious crap. An hour and 15 minutes. See that sex and penises and all that's all entertaining. There's a reason why that stuff's in movies. There's a reason why the pornography is $1 billion industry. It's like that stuff is it's weird and it's fascinating. And I think one writer or another said that an erection was the most unintentionally funny thing in the world. It's like an exclamation point of stupidity. Um, but it's an exclamation point with two dots at the bottom. I gotta stop talking to my brother, man. That's something he would say. Oh hell! What time is it getting to be? I gotta eat something and get off here. And it's midnight, man. It's the witching hour. I gotta get off of here. And I didn't even finish my coffee, man. I gotta figure out how. I hate weak coffee. I would rather have a coffee that's gonna risk killing me than to drink weak coffee. I hate weak coffee, so I never, it's the fun part, I think, of making coffee is the mystery involved, because it's like I can never make the perfect cup of coffee and get it just right. And then, like, there must be some kind of science to it, or nobody taught me how to make coffee properly, because my dad did not make coffee. He made espresso. He made maple syrup coffee. He made coffee that was so strong that I would take a half a cup of it and pour in a half a cup of milk and still not be able to drink it. It was like it's small wonder that he was such a mean guy at times, and edgy and explosive. It's like you cannot drink that stuff. It's like it was actually thick. It's like, why don't you just eat the grounds and call it a day? But no, making coffee, that's what makes it interesting. Is for me is like, I don't know. That first sip is a mystery. It's like, is this going to be shit? Is this going to be good? Am I going to want to drink this? This one's kind of like a in betweener, but it's definitely strong. Um, but yeah, who knows when I'll go to sleep? But I said that the volume thing doesn't work, and I was like, I got frustrated because I was in a lot of pain. I was sleepy, and I was trying to play my guitar unsuccessfully, and I was like, I got kind of a fuck it mood, to be honest, and that's why I took the 15 milligrams of volume at a time, because I was like, if I go to sleep now, I can wake up, and I got to get this figured out and not be up all night and not be talking about penises on the internet in the middle of the night when I should be sleeping. Um, yeah, but yeah, I don't. This is something I don't know. Women maybe don't know about this, but I know guys do. If you go to locker rooms or whatever, there's always those guys that are super comfortable being naked all the time, and it doesn't mean that they got a hog. It just means that they don't care. And it's like, I went to this one. My dad worked at the YMCA in Massillon, and this dude, I don't remember how old he was. I just remember he was fat. But I'm waiting for my dad. I'm done working out. I've already showered. I've already got different clothes on. And he's like, there's a TV in the executive, the fancy locker room or whatever. So I am sitting on this couch watching this TV. This dude comes up in a robe, and I don't know what his deal was, but apparently that's just what you do in locker room. He didn't just sit down in his robe. He like opened his robe, took it off, and laid it down in a special manner on the couch beside me, and then sat there butt naked and fat and wanting to have like a normal conversation with me. And he was probably more relaxed than I have ever been in my entire life. So there's always those guys in locker room. It's just a locker room phenomenon that they enjoy just being naked, or they're just like nudists, or I don't know what the hell they are, but it's not, you know, it's not a fun place for a heterosexual male to hang around in, is a locker room, because there's all this flesh coming at you, and it's a horrible place. And I started when I started like I gave up the whole shower thing pretty quick. I was like, I'll shower at home. I was like that wasn't what turned me, so to speak. Uh, I was like, I'm done with it. Like I will ride the bus home stinky if I have to. I will ride in the car home stinky if I have to, and in sweat stained clothes. But I ain't going to no more shower rooms or locker rooms or any of that. There's fungi in there. It smells bad in there, and there's fat naked people, and that seem to enjoy being naked. And it's traumatized. My foster brother was actually traumatized in a very innocent way, because he was in a locker room, and they used to have these things where they in school where they were teaching kids how to swim, and he was a little kid who hadn't reached puberty yet, so he had like that. And he just happened to have a locker that was next to this. He said he was a red-haired dude, but he was like sitting on the bench in front of the locker, and this dude comes up and disrobes or undresses or whatever, and he's a John Holmes motherfucker. So my foster brother turns around, he looks, and he's just got like, 10, 12 inches of penis staring him in the face. And he's like, he went home, and if he said first he looked down at what he was packing, and he was like, totally crushed as far as being completely inadequate feeling. But then, I guarantee you, if all I have to do is say red hair dude in locker room, and a shadow will pass over his face, I would just have to barely allude to that story, because he was like, that was horrible, man. He was like, that's what the, he's like, I had no idea, because I didn't know that they got like that, and then I had nothing compared to that, and you know he's like, it scarred me. Because I don't know how things are set up nowadays, but back in the day, if your only qualification for going into a locker room was having a Y chromosome. So when you were a kid and you were like 8, 9 years old or whatever, and you were going there with the CYC or whatever to learn how to swim, uh, you got thrown in there with, you know, you were thrown in Gen Pop. Let's put it that way, okay? You were thrown in general population, man. And yeah, he has that story. And he was like, yeah, I don't know if he's still over that yet. I kid, yeah, but it's a whole weird thing, It's like uh, I think Freud or someone came up with the idea of penis envy, or something like that. He had all these crazy ideas about sexuality that have since been debunked. Freud had important psychological contributions as far as other areas, but he was all fucked up when it came to sex. He didn't have a fucking clue as to what was going on. So, but his other he was one of the first people to understand like how important the subconscious was, and some other aspects of modern psychology that have not been discredited or discarded. But he came up with this idea of penis envy, I think, and it's like, no, having like a third baseman between your legs that's saying yes, yes, go, let's go, let's do this, let's say this stupid shit. She could, it might possibly happen. You never know. go ahead, try it. Go ahead, do this. You know, it's like bouncing off the walls. It's not doing anything, but just psychologically, it's part of your mental makeup. So nothing to be envious about. And I just like, I don't know, man. I gotta shut up. Just talk about silly shit for my own personal amusement, and hopefully you're feeling good and you enjoyed uh, like an hour's worth of penis talk. I mean, I don't know. I think penises are funny, so you know. I don't. I never understood fart humor, but penis humor I definitely got. Uh, it's like it's just such a stupid, ridiculous thing. I had a girl in high school that was cruel, and her name was Audrey Holtergreave. I remember her damn stupid name, and that's not an easy name to remember, but she knew that I was a horny dude, so she would like look back at me and chew on the eraser of her pencil. So I was like, I would try not to look, but man, that third baseman, man, he was like, man, you want to look at that? We have to. We got to look at that. And I'm trying to reason and with it, say like, no, 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 we're gonna have like we could get called up to the board to solve this math problem. Uh, don't look at that. She's doing is fucking with you because she's a sadist, and she doesn't. That's a penis, or that's not a penis in her mouth. That's a pencil in her mouth, but it's too close for your penis. And yeah, she would do that teasing stuff, like, and it was just cruel. And she was also one of the better looking girls in school. And I mean, maybe I'm misinterpreting what she was doing, but it became like a joke to her. But I think she did it at first. She was trying to be like, how teenagers try to be sexy. I think she was trying to be sexy because she liked me, maybe. But then she realized she wasn't going to get any response out of me because I was shut down in that way. So she used it to torture me. And yeah, I can see. I actually have that mental picture in my head right now of her like looking around and making. Well, I gotta look this way. It's not gonna work anyway. Look at me. She'd look around at me, and take the pencil up, hold the pencil up, and like nibble on the end of it and stuff, and do it all like looking, making eyes and whatnot. And it's like after a while, it wasn't funny, and as soon as I could feel her looking back at me, I knew what she was going to do. But because of that madman that's between all Y chromosomes legs, you gotta look. You gotta look. That's why I never understood this whole boyfriend and girlfriend thing, where the girlfriend gets pissed off because the guy has to look. I mean, you know, there's look. You don't have to memorize, but if you're married, or you're a couple, or you're a new couple, or you're just a boyfriend and a girlfriend type situation, you can't expect the guy to have somebody walking by in a cutoff shirt and shorts showing way too much skin and not do this. At least go do. you know that makes it worse. It should be like more open, because then it makes you more sneaky and appear more guilty. But I've actually seen women give guys shit about looking at girls dressed to show, and it's like that is not our fault. That is not our fault. It's a conditioned response. It's not our fault. So please, you know, forgive us for that. It's different if we're like taking notes, you know, if we're memorizing that stuff. Anyways, I hope you had a good day. If you're in the Eastern time zone, because your day should be over. And either way, wherever you are or whenever you watch this, I hope you found it amusing. And I really don't care, obviously, how stupid, foolish, or whatever I appear. I never do. And hopefully I never will. So goodbye.